Am I the a-hole for not wanting to reconnect with my estranged children? Plus update. Original post. Okay, so to keep this as short as possible, I was married young and had 3 children with my ex-wife. When our oldest was 10, my ex had an affair and we separated. We obviously didn't tell the kids why we were divorced, but the kids seemed to resent only me for it. In hindsight, keeping it from them was a mistake, but hindsight is 20/20 and it no longer matters. As they got older, my relationship with them got worse and worse, and by the time my youngest was 17, they had mostly stopped talking to me, other than to degrade me. I wanted to tell the kids at one point or another, but my ex threatened to make life very difficult for me and my mother if I did, and she was in a position where she really could have. After being ignored completely for about 2 years and ending up in the hospital due to an OD attempt, my boss, who was a friend long before he was my boss, offered me a position at a different location across the country. I was at my lowest. My kids hated me, and so I decided this may help me restart my life. It's been wonderful. I met my current wife 10 months after I moved here and now have 2 kids with her. She helped me pull out of severe depression and put me back together again. I firmly believe she saved my life. I haven't heard a peep from my kids for over a decade, and told my mother long ago, who they still saw until her passing, that I didn't want any more updates about them after my middle daughter got married and it sent me into a spiral. So I have no idea what they're doing, if they're married, if they have kids, etc., and I don't want to. After so many years, I finally moved on from that life 100%. So the whole reason for this post is because I got a call from that area code and answered it before thinking. All I heard was, "Dad?" before I panicked and said, "Sorry, you must have the wrong number," and hung up. They tried to call back, but I blocked the number after not answering. I'm positive it was one of my daughters. I don't know what they want and I don't care to find out either. I'm probably an a-hole, but I feel like I need an outside perspective. I'm kind of freaking out a little because I just want to be left alone. Now for the top comments before reading the update. I mean, it sounds that your ex just feed a lot of lies to them, so they thought that it was because you had an affair. But I guess they now know the truth, thus trying to reach out to you. Not the a-hole, and if I were you, I would try to talk to them and see what they wanted. So don't be afraid. Call them, talk to them, and tell them the truth. This is the way to move on. Email, then everything is in writing. You can take your time to digest and respond. Not the a-hole. If, and only if, OP wants to hear why they called, email is the best. If they want to apologize for how they treated him, they shouldn't expect his answer. Email is the best. If talking to them will bring strong flashbacks, email is the best. But he absolutely doesn't have to talk to them. When they were degrading him, when OP OD'd, all of them were adults. And any adults know that there are 2 sides of every story. They were victims of ex's lies, but they became bullies and abusers themselves. Driving someone to self-harm takes a lot of effort. He owes nothing to them. He owes to be a responsible parent and partner to his minor kids and his wife. And if letting them back into his life could cause a mental crisis again, it is just irresponsible to let it happen. If one or more of your kids wanted to apologize to you and establish a relationship, would you be open to it? Is there room for healing? If so, is there anyone who could be the go-between on your behalf and see what they wanted? Parental alienation is a form of brainwashing, so their behavior, which you never deserved, could have stemmed from that. Your children also didn't deserve this brainwashing. I fully understand why you would not want to open that door again. If one or more of your kids is seeing things more clearly now, the potential for healing could be huge. The choice is yours, and you are not the a-hole regardless of which choice you make. This is a great perspective. My mother-in-law brainwashed my husband and his sister against their father. They haven't talked to that man in 40 years. He wasn't a father of the year, but he wasn't a monster either. This happened to me with my older son. I miss him, but to him, I'm a monster. Your children are also old enough now to know the truth. Your ex-wife has done the maximum amount of damage that can possibly be done. What are you achieving by protecting her? Tell them and get it off your chest, then move on. They can decide if they want to believe you or not, and whether or not they want to be in your life. Keep in mind, the same manipulative cow that did this to you is the person raising your children. They probably have a better idea of who she is and what she is capable of than you might realize. By the time my youngest was 17, all of his kids were adults, or thereabouts. After years of abuse and hatred, he is happy. Leave him in peace. Now for the update. I called my uncle and found out it was my oldest daughter trying to get in touch. I've been reading as many comments as I can, but it's a lot. My therapist made an opening for me Monday and I've called my boss to take that day out. I'm just going to write down everything I can think of, and my therapist and wife are going to help with that. I think emails are the way to go for now. A big concern I have is my young kids. I don't want them to foster a relationship with someone who might pull the rug out from under them, but I'll discuss that Monday with my therapist. Honestly, that's really it for now. I've gained a lot of different perspectives and it's been helpful, but a bit overwhelming too. I guess I'll update later. But I feel this needs to be a very slow process and I still don't know why she's trying to contact me yet. I did unblock that number long enough to tell her I'll send an email address later, but just doing that was really hard. My wife actually typed it for me. Also, I noticed some people thought I was on drugs, but the only drug I ever took was that one time I tried to end it. And I didn't move until my youngest was 19 and oldest was 24, which was 2 years after our last communication of any kind. Hope that clears up any misunderstanding. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to reconcile with my stepdaughter? When I, 40 male, was 22, I met my late wife Lou, who was then 26. She was with her then partner of 10 years, Mark. She had a 7-year-old daughter, and I had fun sort of older uncle relationship with her. We'll call her Taylor. I also had a friend relationship with Taylor when Lou was with Mark. For context, I'm white. Lou was white, but Mark was black, so Taylor is mixed race. Over the next couple of years, Lou and Mark separated, but I remained friends with Lou, and in 2009, I got into a relationship with Lou after her and Mark already split. Even though Taylor was 11 at this point, I already knew her as a family friend, so we had a good relationship for a couple of years. Mark vanished off the scene and went to Jamaica for a bit. However, when she hit her teens, Mark came back into her life and Taylor started to hate me. As much as I tried to be patient and not push it too much, she hated me all the more. I tried to grin and bear it, but me and Lou struggled. No matter what I did, I was the a-hole stepdad. It seemed all the hatred came from Mark. But Lou persevered, as she said Taylor should have a relationship with her dad. However, when Taylor was 16, she stole some very valuable and sentimental coins I had. I'm a coin collector, and my late auntie left me some valuable coins. Taylor stole them, bought a phone with it. It was the final straw and Luke kicked her out to live with her dad. It was hard, but I understood. 3 years later, Taylor came back on the scene and was having trouble. She was pregnant. Mark kicked her out and Lou wanted to help her. As she did me dirty previously, I said I didn't want a part of it after Taylor screwed me over last time. As hard as it was, me and Lou split. So then 4 years later in 2021, I reconciled with Lou. And soon after, we found Lou had cancer. I looked after her for a couple of years, but 6 months ago, it was diagnosed as terminal. By this point, Lou and Taylor's relationship broke down previously, and they hadn't seen each other for a couple of years. But shortly before Lou died, they met and reconciled. Lou died in February. Before she died, we had a quiet wedding ceremony. Before she died, she said Taylor should be able to come to her funeral, so I honored that. The funeral was last week. As much as me and Taylor had this bad history, I didn't have the energy to be horrible, so I was polite to her, hugged her, and was polite. Didn't think much of it, but then a couple of days ago, I received a letter from Taylor, saying how much she loved seeing me and was sorry. That her dad is a horrible man and she saw his true colors. And that he manipulated her, and how I was a better dad to her and how she regrets what she did. She included her mobile number and said I should ring her and we should have a coffee so she could apologize in person. And that I should meet her kid. Initially, I chucked the letter away. All I see in her is that she robbed me valuable years with Lou. But when I told my mom, she uncharacteristically said I should meet Taylor and give her a chance. Admittedly, I don't have much feelings for Taylor and would struggle to see her at the moment. But then again, I'm not a good judge of character at the moment as I'm so down. Am I the a-hole for refusing to reconcile? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Sorry for what you're going through. It sounded difficult all the way through. As somewhat of a cynic myself, and given her seemingly poor attitude and life choices, I would bank on her wanting something from you and using the child as a tool for emotional blackmail to get it. If you do engage with her, have a clear exit plan if it appears she's trying to rope you into a sinking ship. hopping onto the top comment to point out that OP should not make any unnecessary major decisions for a while. Most things I've read recommended a year. The reason is that you're emotionally vulnerable for a long time, and it would be very easy to manipulate someone in that mindset. You have my deepest condolences. My sister just passed the 1-year anniversary of her husband's passing. She didn't think she'd get through it either. Hang in there and give yourself grace. Yeah, sounds like Bio Dad is a piece of work. And now her mom is gone, so Taylor is looking for support and/or a babysitter. But by my rough calculation, Taylor is 25 to 27 years old now. She's had years to try to make it up to OP and hasn't bothered. It's very telling she's only trying to make up now. Not the a-hole. She may want closure, but it sounds like you do not. Sounds like she wants you to pay for something. Ding ding ding. I'm guessing she'll use the child to dangle a living, breathing connection to Lou in his face, which she can have daily access to if she just lets them move in for the low price of $3.99. Not the a-hole. Some doors are best left unopened. Taylor is very likely only coming to you because things didn't work out with her biological father, and she wants the benefits that fathers typically bring to daughters, like handyman services, money, etc. I have a truly awful cousin that is 46, and a single mother of a 7-year-old who has never met her father, and my cousin would be homeless if it wasn't for her parents. Even adult children lean heavily on parents, especially if they're selfish. If my 16-year-old stole something important to me and pawned it so they could buy a new phone, I would honestly disown them. I'm not pouring my heart, soul, money, and time into the upbringing of a kid just to have them be a degenerate criminal. I'll do whatever I can to get them out of my house, and that would be it. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not forgiving my sister as she had an affair with my husband, even though I accepted my husband back? I, 33, female, married my husband Alex, 35, male, 8 years ago. About 5 years ago, my mom died sometime after my second child was born. I went into depression due to her death and postpartum. We stayed at my mom's house for about 6 months with my sister Sally, 28, female. During this time, Alex and Sally helped me a lot and got me out of that dark phase. Things eventually got better and we came back to our home. About 2 years ago, we had our anniversary and we decided to celebrate at home. Sally came too. However, towards the end of the party, I saw Alex and Sally arguing and then she abruptly left. When I asked him, he broke down and told me he had an affair with Sally. Basically, when I was in depression, he was so lonely and didn't know how to make things better. I became like a shell of a person and it felt helpless seeing me like that. Then Sally came and comforted him. They would share their feelings to each other and became each other's emotional support. This led to an emotional affair that turned physical after Sally kissed him. However, after Sally asked him to divorce me, he realized his mistake and freaked out and just ghosted her. After the party, Sally was angry for not leaving me and was accusing him of using her and throwing her away. He had a breakdown and kept on apologizing. I asked him to leave and that we would get a divorce. He left eventually and we were separated for quite some time. I confronted Sally and she started crying as well and wanted to explain, but I just cut the call and went no contact. However, during this time, my kids would cry for their dad and my oldest would constantly ask for him. Also, since I'm working, it's almost impossible for me to take care of them alone at the same time. Also, divorce seemed a bad idea financially. Most importantly, Alex is a great dad and I could not see my kids in pain, so I decided to not get divorced. In reality, I have not forgiven him and would leave after kids are grown up or if kids feel unhappy. For now, we are working efficiently as parents and kids are back to being normal and happy. A few days ago, Sally asked to meet through a mutual friend. Upon meeting, she said she was sorry and that she was getting married. She asked me to forget the past and be a family again. She even asked me to be the bridesmaid. I honestly laughed at her face and left. Now she is saying I'm being cruel since I accepted my husband but I'm punishing her, that I am her only family and I should leave things in the past. I honestly don't want anything to do with her because of how greatly she hurt me. I adored her growing up and she did that to me. But I don't know anymore, so am I the a-hole? Wait, they had an affair for 3 whole years? Woman, I don't understand how you could keep him around. Think about the example you are setting for your kids. Because even if they don't know yet, one day they will. Don't let them think forgiving an affair is acceptable ever. It sounded to me like they had a brief affair. He ghosted her, then they had a fight at a family event about the fact that he ghosted her, and that's how OP found out. I thought that too, but then I thought it would be super weird that his sister would bring it up years later at the anniversary party. So that got me thinking that it was a 3-year affair. Sister asked him to leave his wife, he ghosted her, and then she freaked out. Not the a-hole, but I still think you should have divorced your husband. You could have been co-parents in separate houses. That way the kids could still see their dad. A good dad doesn't translate to a good husband. Anyway, to each their own, you don't owe your sister anything. But to change one thing you said, that she did that to you at the end, is inaccurate. They both did that to you. Your husband is just as responsible as your sister is. Honestly, my parents divorced when I was 10 years old due to infidelity on my dad's part. And while there were tough times for my mom, brother, and I can confirm that all of us were so much happier that there wasn't tension in the household of pretending to like each other in front of us and forced conversations to make our home life seem normal. Agreed, staying together for the kids is rarely good for the kids. 100%. When my mother and former stepdad sat me down and explained that they were getting a divorce, I was so ridiculously relieved. They weren't awful, but there was always tension in the house, and even at the age 10, I could tell they were not happy together anymore. They co-parented my younger brother beautifully together, and he never abandoned me since he was the only dad I ever felt any love for. Real dad is a POS. They remained friends until my mom passed. As someone whose parents should have divorced but did not, I can confirm the tension is 100% palpable, and that OP's kids know exactly what is going on. Even though my siblings and I are all grown adults now, we still call it the Cold War. Edit: I have been very clear with my husband that I have not forgiven him. I might forgive him in the future, I might never. Right now, I don't know. However, I cannot take his right to be a dad as well, as we both love our kids a lot. I am not deceiving him nor giving him false hope. As for kids being unhappy, if at any point in future I feel they're unhappy or this arrangement is doing more harm than good, then we will choose the route to co-parent. For now, I have decided to wait till kids are grown up a bit so they're able to understand the situation. But for now, they're happy having both dad and mom around. Even if I could forgive my husband, I will divorce him in the future, as I cannot see him as my husband anymore. And to everyone asking if I'm sleeping with him in personal messages, no, I am not.